And here's Sue Hillis to give her demo on her new Sleds leaflet assembly.
I don't know where to start. I've never been on camera before. Okay. I'm here at Keepsakes in Sharonville, which is by Cincinnati, and I have given a demo today on a new sled finish that I developed, and I have two books that support it. One is Christmas Sweets, one is Christmas Rides. And as you can see, all of the steps are outlined in this book, and I'm hoping to give you a demo covering all that today, but if you need a backup, you can hopefully purchase the books. It's also got designs in there for the sleds. The designs for this particular sled and the way that I'm finishing them have to be 30 count or 32 count. That works best for these sleds. The first one we're going to do, the only one we're going to do today, is this little gingerbread guy, and I am first going to tell you how to paint the sleds. All the sleds start out with the brown. These are from Foxwood Crossings, and they're lovely sleds, but I did know that from the first time I saw them, I thought they weren't going to show up very well on a Christmas tree. So it took me 2 years to figure this out. I realized recently that all we needed to do was spray paint them. And so I started out with some spray paint, and the one that I found works best is Krylon with primer. You buy it by the color and it says primer. And the one that I like best is a satin finish. So I have pre-sprayed my frames, or my sleds rather, excuse me, and we're in March, I'm going to be coming out with some new designs with the red ones. I really like the red ones. But these actually all happen to be on white sleds. And the way we painted them was I put them in a shallow box about 3 or 4 inches apart and sprayed the entire box all at one time with a light coating. And it takes about 15 or 20 minutes for them to dry. And then I repositioned them, turned them upside down, sideways, or whatever to make sure that I covered all areas. And I did that probably about another 4 times, so they have 5 light coats on to begin with. While you're doing that, you can prepare your needlework, and you want to start with a piece that is clean, that doesn't have any fingerprints or grunge on it, and that probably wouldn't happen because these are so quick to stitch. And make sure that they're ironed nicely. And then you pick out your design, and we're going to be putting this cute little gingerbread guy on a sled. And that happens to be one of the designs in my book.
In the Christmas Sweets.
All right, in the book we give you 2 templates. One is for the backboard that's going on your design, which will go on your sled once we get the design mounted on it. The other template is going to be an oval that you're going to lay over your stitching and cut around, and we're going to mount this on that template. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is pick out our template. This is made of chipboard, and the chipboard you can get usually in a quilting store or a one of the big box stores. Comes in a pack, maybe 8 to 10 inches rectangular, maybe 20 or 25 in a package. I also find it on Amazon, and it's good. It's a heavy weight, but it's not too heavy. I cut this with my scissors easily, and anything left over I use for ornament finishing. So the first thing we do is use my template. I've used quilter's plastic with a grid on it, copying the template that's in the leaflet to make these. And like I said, this is the backboard, and it makes no difference if you're using the brown side or the white side. Then we are going to put 1 layer of light padding on this. I prefer to use the woven cotton batting. I thought I cut one out. I've lost it. Here it is. Use a light touch with Aleene's glue. Don't let the glue puddle. And if it does puddle, use the point and just spread it around on the back of the template.
And it doesn't matter which side of the template you use?
Neither, it's not going to show.
Okay.
Okay?
That's true.
And then you just put one layer down, and while it's drying, trim it to the same size as the template.
Like right to the edge?
Right to the edge, yeah.
Okay.
If it's a little bit larger than the edge, it'll just fold down over the sides, and that'll be fine. But you don't want it smaller for sure. That's what it looks like. I like the woven cotton better than the polyester batting because that seems to be a little lumpy when you're using just one layer at a time. Okay. Now I'm going to center my gingerbread man in the middle of the oval template. And by the way, this quilter's plastic comes either plain without the grid or with the grid. The reason why I put that piece of tape on there was because I was using some without the grid one time and I lost them forever. I never found them again because they were clear. So now I just put that bright colored tape on all of them just in case I lose them again. Then I'm going to cut that out. Right on my pencil line.
And if you don't cut well,
it doesn't matter.
Okay.
Just get it somewhat close.
You weren't speaking from experience, were you?
All right. What did I do with, there it is, my template. I want a back button on that video. Okay, then I hold this up to the light so I can kind of eyeball center it. And when I've got it centered there, and making sure that the edge of my template lines up with the with one straight thread on my fabric. That's just kind of a, that way it's sure to stay centered. Okay, and when I think that's centered, then I just hold it with my hands. And I cut notches out of the excess fabric, which takes some of the bulk out of the back. You want the points to come no closer than about 1/8 of an inch. If you get it closer, then the notches start to unravel, and then on the other side you'll have strings and it won't be a nice smooth look. You do put one notch right at the corner. That makes it fold back nicely. You put the notches about every 1/2 inch. And they don't have to be perfectly aligned with each other. The main purpose is just to get some of the bulk out of there. And like I said, make sure that you've got a notch right at the corner too.
Now I notice you have a very steady grip on your piece. But if you're not that coordinated and steady, is there anything else you can suggest to hold that?
Not at this point, but once we start gluing it down, then I've got some clips that we can use.
Okay.
But right now I have to rely on my hands
Okay.
to do this. I'm going to put the craft glue down one more time. And remember, a thin layer is better than a thick layer. A thick layer takes too long to dry, and what you're gluing will actually move around if it doesn't get glued down well right to begin with. So I put a light coating, and then I take my finger and just mush it down just a little bit because that's still a little bit excess. And you want it to be tacky when you start churning the fabric over. And probably I should have waited just a few minutes, maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes before I actually started folding this, to give the glue a little bit even more time to set up. Okay, see how the fabric is just lying over the top of each other, but still there's not too much there because we did take out those wedges.
And you're kind of stretching. And
I kind of am stretching it just a little bit with my finger. And then also I want to do the side now, and so I have to put a little bit more glue on the top of the part that I've already stitched down, so these that I've already glued down, so
it's got something to stick.
it's got something to stick on.
Oh.
And like I said, with my finger, I'm pulling it just a little bit. And that's the beginning of the front. I have to finish the bottom still. And that's what the back looks like. Okay, I'm working on the bottom now to finish it up. And I should wait probably about 1 minute or so to let this sit up. But the camera's rolling. Okay, and now while we're waiting for this to dry just a little bit better, you can use clothespins, or Keepsakes carries these little wonder clips to hold things down while we're waiting for the glue to set up. Okay. All right, so while I'm waiting for that, I'm going to pick out my sled. Let's use this red one. Okay, I'm going to put a light coating of the tacky glue down here, and I get it pretty close to the edges so it lies nice and flat. But that's not a whole lot of glue. And then just center this right there, push it down. Now you want to hold it with your fingers for just a little while. You obviously can't put a whole lot of weight on top of this because we don't want to have the runner splay on us or break. I have had that happen, and by the way, you can easily fix it with a hot glue gun. But what I like to do is turn it over and then maybe put a bag of rice or beans or something with some weight on it while the glue dries. So let's just pretend we're doing that right now. And meanwhile, I'm going to look to see what I've got in the way of ribbons. And the ribbons that I use are usually 3/8 of an inch, which are the ones that you find so readily available at the stores, the big box stores. And I'm looking for ribbons all the time, so don't wait until the last minute of Christmas to go find Christmas ribbon. Flat ribbon works best. The organza is great for bows, but it doesn't really work so well on the sleds because it's see-through and you can't hide what, the side of the sled runner, or the sled platform is what I mean. Also, this doesn't work. This is a round fuzzy. It looks glittery and it looks kind of pretty, but there's no place to put it on the sled that makes a nice flat finish. It's just too bulky looking. So I use pretty much flat ribbons, rickrack, crochet trim. I've even used bias strips of fabric, and we can, because it's bias, it stretches nicely all the way around. So that's an option if you can't find just the right color of your fabric.
Sue, on the fabric, you would not stitch it
I glue. There's
just,
no sewing at all on this. It's
okay,
always
just
gluing.
glue it all
yeah.
down.
Yeah. Okay, we're going to pretend this is nice and finished now, and it's actually stuck down there pretty good. So now I'm going to pick out my ribbons, and I thought I had one that was,
Red and white polka dot.
no, I thought I actually had one that was kind of a gingerbread color with snowflakes on. Sorry for showing you my best side. Nope, don't have it. So, let's try that red one with the snowflakes instead of the gingerbread one that I lost. Oh, I forgot I had those. These are buttons that come from a quilt store. The brand of the buttons is called Dress It Up, and they have some really cute buttons. And I just happen to have these little gingerbread guys.
Cute.
So right now I'm just looking at different options. That little snowflake ribbon that I have up here right now is cute, but I don't want it to fight gingerbread guy. I don't think he will. I think he'll be okay. So when we start putting the ribbon down, and like I said, this is the ribbons that work best are the 3/8 of an inch or 1/4 of an inch, and that happens to be just the right width to go around. And I always hold it up here first to make sure that I'm going to like it, and I like that. So the way we start it, gluing down, is just cut the ribbon at a right angle, and I start it right on one of the front corners where it's less conspicuous than if I started it on the side or in the back. I start on the front corner right about there, and I'm going to glue just a little bit. You don't need much glue on here. I like to put extra glue right at the indentations of those sleds back there, so we can get the ribbon to fit nicely in that little wave. So I put extra glue, just a little bit of extra, right there inside those indentations. Same thing with the front part. The front, with the way the sleds are made, there's this little footrest here, so you really can't get your fingers in there really well. So usually what I use is I take a pencil or something and kind of glue it, push the pencil down onto the glue. Okay. Wrap it. And I'm going to go back and adjust it in just a second. I cut this end about 1/4 of an inch longer so it'll come back down the side like that. Okay, so now I'm going to go back and push the ribbon down onto the sides. Okay, and I've got this little bit coming up that's about 1/4 of an inch longer than the rest, so I'm going to put an extra little dab of glue there to hold it. Ooh, that's a lot of glue. Okay, I got glue on that runner right there, but it dries clear, so it won't be a problem. And then I have a little bit of extra glue on my finger, and I'm going to take it and put it right on top of that little seam right there to keep that seam from unraveling any of the ribbon. Okay, so there I've done the sides. Now I'm going to do a bow that's going to fit right up in there, and I'm going to glue a gingerbread man on them. This is just a standard bow, but if you Google fork bow, F-O-R-K-B-O-W, there is a demonstration that makes the nicest little bow that would be especially nice out of organza because it's so lightweight. I don't know if that fork bow would work well on a grosgrain like this because it's a little bit thicker, but check that out. It's a really cute bow. Okay, I've made this little bow. I'm going to diagonal the edges. And then to keep the edges from unraveling, I'm going to take pretend this is a scrap right there. Just a scrap of cardboard. And I'm going to run a little bit of glue right there. And I'm going to take this.
Oh.
And it'll dry clear and it will keep it from unraveling.
New trick. Cool.
Yep.
That's a nice trick.
Okay.
I'll have to remember that for my card making.
And this can either be wrapped around the handle and tied in a bow that way, or you can just use a glob of glue and position it where you really want it.
So cute.
Okay, I'm just going to leave that sitting on there, and as it gets tacky, I'm going to push it down further. And what I'm going to do with these little buttons is I'm going to take some red floss, and I'm going to take all 6 strands and push it through the buttonholes and tie it in the back. And that way it'll look a little bit more finished than those 2 empty holes right there. But then also that'll give me some fabric, or the floss actually, to glue. And I'm going to glue it right there on the top of the bow knot. And I can't do that now because it's still drying. Oops. But I'll show you in a minute. Okay, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you have many, many sleds in your life.
Thank you, Sue. That was Sue Hillis demonstrating her sled assembly. And we also want to mention that the LNS where we are, which is Keepsakes in Sharonville, Ohio, is holding their annual Stitch Away retreat at Houston Woods State Park, north of Oxford, Ohio. And if you are interested in the funnest stitchy weekend you will ever have in your life, you need to get a hold of Keepsakes and make a reservation. It's always on Martin Luther King weekend, and we hope that we will see you there.
Sue is the featured designer. And Sue.
Oh, also, I was just reminded by my wonderful cohorts here that Sue will be at the retreat. Yay! Thanks, everybody. Bye.